We really didn't know what we were doing.
It really was kind of an uncharted territory for us at local government.
Well, we had nothing to go off of, so we created the model as we were building it.
And everyone was like, this is the dumbest thing we've ever seen. What are they doing? We were watching longtime residents get priced out of this town.
There was a realization that even taking people who had nowhere to live and lived on the streets and getting to the place where they could actually are interested or were able to take a job, they still needed a place to live.
We were seeing a lot of individuals that were applying for the housing that had an income. A lot of them had employment, but they didn't have enough income to qualify for housing.
There's a lot of people on the street right now that don't have a safety net of a family, and they're one bad mistake, or they're one accident or one illness away from being there. And that's not fair.
I would hear from so many developers that they have a desire to build more affordable units. It's just the economics are very tough.
It just seemed like $400 a month was the magic number that made Social Security, disability, minimum wage jobs, and we kind of backed into it.
We cannot use typically federal funds appropriated to us for this type of housing. And so we had to think creatively, kind of out of the box.
So it was late 2017 that Jim Frommer, Chris Askin, and I did a series of site visits to organizations in the Bay Area, looking at how the Marin Community Foundation and many others addressed affordable housing.
When we met the person that had the flyer on these units, and I was like, well, I think this looks amazing. I think we're going to Wyoming. And then we sat down with Chris Askin and Jim Frommer, like late one Friday afternoon, and they said, how can we say no to this?
We got back in the plane, and on the way back, literally went around in that plane, pointing at each person. Q&D, will you build it? Are you in? With the city planning department, will you fast track this project? With the state of Nevada, will you certify these buildings? Finally, to Leo at VOA, will you run it? That was when this whole project was decided on that plane flight back.
Public-private partnerships are challenging, right? You need both those sides of the equation coming together with a shared vision. We were incredibly fortunate to have such strong passion at the City of Reno, such strong passion at the Nevada Housing Division, such strong passion in the Community Foundation, and then tons of passionate supporters saying, yes, let's give this a try.
Really, from everything I've seen in terms of other affordable housing projects, we were innovating a way of dealing with what are the construction costs.
And when we saw these in the middle of nowhere in the harshest weather conditions, we thought, this is awesome.
54 truckloads later, the city gave us 4 acres, and we assembled with a number of community partners. It was like barn building. It was really exciting. Typically, we provide $3 million, and that gets us about 200 units. This was $2 million that we provided, and it was going to house 216.
There was always a desire to expand the village. We knew that there were the 2 remaining dorm buildings that were the 96 units when we first purchased them during phase 1, but we didn't have the funding or the space to put them anywhere.
And had it not been for the success of that original village, there's no way we could have then unlocked federal funds and state funds to actually expand this project here.
But what we saw in this was proof of concept. Hey, we're going to be able to house for not a whole lot of money, a whole lot of people at a lower economic tier than typically we could get to.
With incredible support from the City of Reno, the Community Foundation received funding to purchase the units and purchase the land. That was the only parcel that the project would have been feasible. And I think what's really special about the expansion is we start to get to the economies of scale with the project.
And so it's really kind of a neat proof point of the power of private philanthropy in this community to take on hard problems and do it a little bit differently in a way that tries something new.
The goal is that everybody leaves here and they end up at independent or permanent housing elsewhere in the community. If the village didn't exist, there would be so many more people living on the train tracks, sleeping in their cars, bailing out of motels, and having nowhere to go.
Within 6 months, I went from absolutely hating myself, basically, and living just a bum, and went to being some sort of contribute to society. That's what low barrier housing does, I think. It gives you the ability and the stability that you need to where you can work on yourself.
And I've already made all these leaps and bounds from I was literally gonna be on the street, but because I had a safe place to go to launch from and to start over and rebuild. I'm in my own apartment and it's literally walking distance to my work. And now I get to give back. I get to tell them, you can do this.
It's when you hear those stories that you know that you're doing something that's making a difference. And the fact that we can do that here, the fact that the funding came in and we're putting it to good use, yeah, that's the stuff that makes all the difference in the world.
One of our mandates is to unite philanthropy to really combat the most challenging causes or issues in our community. And so having the village on Sage Street as a kind of keystone project in our past really cements that concept of bridge building across all these different folks that had to come together, different organizations, different agencies, different funding streams, all to come together to make a project like this happen.